Hi guys, it's Danny. So this video is going to look at pre-planning. So how you can pre-plan stuff to take into the exam to make sure that you get a great mark. And this video is going to be based on question 5, language paper 1, the creative writing question. So let's have a look at what we're going to do. So the worst thing in the exam is the blank piece of paper. And here's the first step to managing to avoid that scenario. So, pre-planning is how you can avoid a terrible kind of mental block when you get in the exam. So, pre-planning is building knowledge before you get into the exam. So, one way we can do that is we can go in armed with certain words. Now, why is this helpful? Well, in the exam, for AO5 and AO6, which are the AOs that you are marked on for question 5, you have certain things. So this is content of your writing, which includes high-level vocab. So good vocabulary, good language. And it also has to be varied. So not just high level, but varied. Now AO6 is about accuracy. Accurate spelling, accurate punctuation, but we'll come to that later. And you also get a mark for, believe it or not, high level and varied vocab. So vocabulary is super important because you get lots and lots of marks for it. Remember, AO6 is worth 16 marks and AO5 is worth 24 marks. So overall, 40 marks. That's half your paper. So what we're going to look at today is how you can get good marks on AO4 for content and high level and varied vocab, and how you can get good marks for AO6 for accurate spelling and high level and varied vocab. There are 4 building blocks that support good use of vocab, and they are nouns, adjectives, verbs, and adverbs. So let's give you a quick example of them and then we'll look in a bit more detail. So for example, if you were looking at this face, then we could find lots of nouns because nouns are objects. So things like glasses, eyebrows, earrings, baby Yoda. If you look behind me, you've got the painting, you've got a lamp, you've got a picture, all of these different things. So those are all nouns. Adjectives are just descriptive words for objects, for nouns. So for example, you might say, I don't know, thick nerdy glasses, earrings are silver, and abundant, you know, there are lots of them. I have multicoloured hair. Multicoloured would be your adjective. Baby Yoda, I would describe as cute. So adjectives describe what something is like. Your verbs are your actions. So if we're looking at it from the perspective of this video, we've got me talking, me moving, me showing you things. Showing is a verb. Smiling. You might be at home judging this video. Judging is a verb. And you've also got adverbs. So with adverbs, they describe how something is done. So you might say she was talking annoyingly, or she was smiling continually, or which other ones did we use? They were silently judging. So they kind of describe how something is done. And you'll notice from all those examples that the adverbs they don't all end in ly, but for the purposes of the GCSE exam, they all end in ly. Don't worry about the rest. If you want to be a language specialist, then you need to know other adverbs. But if you don't want to be a language specialist, you don't. So assume they mostly end in ly, like silently, annoyingly, continually. So let's see how we can pre-plan using those 4 things I just told you about. So first of all, we've got nouns. Then we've got adjectives. Then we've got verbs, and then we've got adverbs. And what you want to do first is you want to number 1 to 4 on each thing. Remember that I said you need varied vocab in the exam, which is why you want to go in there with 4 of each type. So you have 12 words that you're going to try and use in the exam, in your piece of creative writing. And this can be very helpful because it can not only impress your marker, so when they're reading it, they're like, there is loads of varied and interesting vocabulary in this piece of work, but also it means that you will never go in there with a blank piece of paper because you'll always have some words that you're trying to get into your writing. So that gives you a good starting point. Ultimately, your paper should look like this. So how do we choose good vocabulary? Most of us don't have words in our head that are powerful enough to take into the exam. You might have a couple or a favourite word. You might not, but like my dad used to use incongruous all the time, and it means out of place, and I really like that word. Incongruous, just like the way it sounds. But we don't have 12 really powerful nouns, adjectives, verbs and adverbs in our head at all times. So you need to do some research to find some really good ones. So what you might do is you might go online and search for them, or you might be watching your favourite TV show and they say a really good word and you look that up. A different way to do it, and a really good way to do it, is to use this free app. It is completely free. It's called Vocabulary Builder and it's by Magoosh. So if you look this up and download it for free and put it on your phone, this is a really good way to search vocab. And the reason is it's a bunch of little quizzes where they give you a word and then they give you some options about what that word might look like. So let me show you. I need to come this way because I can't read it backwards. So it looks a little bit like this. And it says, at the top it says, choose the best definition. And then it gives you a word, which is uncompromising. And then it gives you some options. So inflexible, angry, without, shapeless, or I'm not sure. And if you don't know what it means, you can have a guess. So you might get it wrong, but it doesn't matter. Or you might say, I'm not sure. Or you might know what it means, and you might get it right. So let's say you chose angry. It doesn't mean angry. So what it would do is it would tell you were wrong. It would tell you what it does mean. It would give you an example of how you can use it in a sentence. And then it would carry on with the test. And then a little while later, it would come back and test you on this again to remind you of what it means. So uncompromising means inflexible. You might get that right. And then you could just move on. So what it does is it makes sure that you know what the word is. And it makes sure you know what it means and how you can use it. And that is really, really helpful because these words you need to be really secure when you go in there, that you know how to use them and you know what they mean. So, first thing we would do is we would make our list of nouns, which, as you remember, are objects. So an example is a wall. So the ones that I've chosen from my extensive research online and on Vocabulary Builder are dishonesty, competition, power, and peace. Now I think these words are going to be quite flexible. So obviously I've got my nouns. So I've got dishonesty, competition, power, and peace. Then I've got my 4 adjectives, which are describing a noun. For example, red. So I've chosen bleak, which means depressing or hopeless, abundant, which means there are many of something, unique, which is when something is one of a kind, and obscure, which is when something is really unusual and not many people know about it. For my verbs, which are actions like run, I have chosen erase, revive, conform, and corrupt. So erase means to get rid of something, revive means the opposite actually, to bring something back to life, to interest. So you revive interest in something or you revive an actual person's life. Conforming is when you do what you're told, but you don't even question it, you just do it and you don't even think about it. And then corrupt is when someone is dishonest for gain. And then I've got my adverbs, which is when you describe how an action takes place. So forcefully, dramatically, insultingly, and stubbornly. And again, you've got your your LYs on the end there. So forcefully is with force or pressure. Dramatically is when you add drama to something. Insultingly, obviously done to insult someone. And then stubbornly is when you refuse to change or obey. So if you look at the whole sheet, you can see that I've got all my words. And what I'll do when I get into my exam is I'll just quickly write those words down, and then I'll make sure that I put them in my writing. And what this does is it takes away the pressure of going into the exam and not knowing what you want to write about. Because I know that I want to put the word erase. So when I look at the task that they've given me, I'll say, right, how can I get the word erase in here? How can I use the word forcefully? What about the word unique? How can these go into this piece of writing? So check out my other video to see how you can actually use these when you're in the exam. So I'll show you how to actually put them in a piece of writing. I'll also show you how to revise them, because if you're like me, you do not have a good memory, and you're going to need some little tricks for actually remembering these, so when you get in the exam, you've got them all in your head.